Hey everybody, this is Paul and Ian from the McSoss Comic Book Podcast. And if you're wondering why we're by ourselves tonight, it's because Matt Cassell has made it blatantly clear that he thinks the Power Rangers movie is a steaming pile of dog shit. So we decided to record this fun little video review without him. Ian, you really enjoyed Power Rangers. We saw it Sunday morning, 10:30 showing. Pretty good crowd, but you came out of there with serious Woodson.
Yeah, I had like a lightning bolt hard on rocking in my pants. I'm not a big fan of Power Rangers. I like Voltron a lot more. I have more of allegiance to those 80s properties. And Power Rangers always, to me, I think you agree, was sort of like a cheesy Saturday morning, like Japanese import that didn't really fit in with a lot of the stuff that we liked.
It was the live action bizarreness. You know, growing up when we did everything was animated. So just the live action nature of it, I always kind of felt like I should like this, but I hate this.
And I was offended by the blatant ripoff of Voltron, something that I held really dear and loved. They took it and bastardized it, so that probably maybe not like the original Power Rangers and then the, 15 iterations after. But this film was excellent. It did everything that I wanted a Power Rangers movie. It added to the mythos. We open up with sort of a callback to that Dark Power Rangers. Do you remember that? It starred James Vanderbeek and somebody else, a woman from Battlestar Galactica, I think. I can't remember her name right now.
Someone familiar?
But it was
Battlestar.
Yeah, but it was like a fan-made movie, but high production value, and it was focused on a dystopian future of the Power Rangers. That immediately sucked me in, and I was like, yeah!
Yeah, it was like how Green Lantern opened with all the drama with Abe and Sur getting to Earth, and shit going wrong on his ship and everything. And the movie immediately opens up like with this high stakes drama that I completely wasn't expecting. And immediately I was like, oh shit, I'm way into this.
It built more of a world in those 2 minutes than I think 20 years of Power Rangers has done. It rolled in a real reason for Rita to be an antagonist of the Power Rangers. It rolled in the Power Rangers as not just those specific characters, but sort of like a force that could be passed along from generation to race to generation. And it just did a really good job of fleshing out things that I didn't know that I wanted from my Power Rangers. But
yeah, it kind of gave it a Green Lantern and Nova sense, whereas there have been like other alien races that have been Power Rangers. There are multiple centuries of Power Rangers. It gave it this huge history, and I guess that's a benefit that the filmmakers had, was that they had a blank canvas. Because a couple weeks ago, I've seen Power Rangers tons, but a couple weeks ago, I sat down and watched about 20 plus episodes.
I came in at the probably 10 episode mark at that time, and it was right around when the Green Ranger was being introduced.
Yeah.
And it was all the cheesiness that I remember of the old Power Rangers, but there were some little points that, with age, I think I liked a little bit more than whenever I was a teenager, kind of looking at it really critically and pairing it up against Voltron.
Well, I feel like there's a certain nostalgia, even for us now. For someone like my brother who's 9 years younger than me, he has the Power Rangers nostalgia. Like, we have He-Man nostalgia.
Yeah.
But, I have Power Rangers nostalgia. Like, I have Dr. Dre nostalgia.
You like it more as it goes along, or it grows
with you? Yeah, because
I
think I appreciate it now because it's part of that time. Like, I never liked any of that early 90s rap then.
How dare
But
you.
now I hear it, and like that nostalgia quality of it,
the weight of history just
right
falls on you, and it's undeniable.
Yeah, Power Rangers. Power Rangers is probably more deniable still, because that show is bad.
Power Rangers is your gin and juice, if you will.
Yeah, but Gin and Juice, even then, I could be like, yeah, I get why people like this, but I didn't like it. But like Power Rangers, still, like it's unwatchable. You can't watch the original series. There's no like the reason that Green Ranger saga was so big then. It was because it was the first time in like 1.5 seasons that
Uh-oh.
the gid phone.
Somebody hates our opinion already.
So yeah, like the first time there was any kind of continuity in that show was when there was that Green Ranger saga.
Mm-hmm.
But up until then, it was just one-off episodes. Rita does the same thing every episode. It was the same episode. You open with a life lesson that needs learned. They fight the putties. They fight the monster. Then they fight the big monster, and then they resolve the life lesson.
Such a template, like just drop
At
plot points into
that's exactly
buckets.
that's exactly what it was. At some point, Bulk and Skull get something splashed on their face, but it's the same thing every episode.
Mm-hmm.
And like I always thought there was more substance to it. There isn't. So the filmmakers for this movie, they had a clean slate. Like they could plug stuff in and tie things together, and that's exactly what they did. This is going to be filled with spoilers, by the way. You learn that Rita used to be the Green Ranger, and
you learn that immediately, and that goes into that world building where I was instantly hooked because it gave the Power Rangers an emotional reason to fight against Rita and feel betrayed, and her sort of like her obsession with power to just push aside her team members sort of ties into the greater like becoming a team and the importance of caring about each other. And for her, like shunning that, I think played a lot into the whole plot of the film.
Yeah, and that goes along with at the same time you find out that Zordon was the Red Ranger back in the Cretaceous period, or so many billions of years ago on Earth, and it makes Zordon more sympathetic. You understand him more because in the original show he's just this blurry face. He's kind of like Ganthet.
Mm-hmm.
He's never been on the front lines. He's just calling the shots. He's just telling them what to do. But in this one, you see Zordon as the Red Ranger. He takes a beating, and he watches his Yellow Ranger die, and he sacrifices himself to save the planet. So you get way more actual story from characters that had none before that, and that stuff immediately pulls you in and gets you invested in what the Rangers' business is.
Yeah, and going in, I thought some of the things that I was going to like the most were the story of teamwork, really digging into who these characters were, who the teenagers were, exploring more of their relationships, more so than just the action and fun of all of that. I wanted to see some of the team building, and we got loads of that in this movie. I would say that a good 3/4 of the movie is just them as the teenagers, figuring out a little bit about their powers, learning about the Power Rangers, hearing about Rita, and the last 20 minutes of the movie is them as the Power Rangers, but the whole journey is what the main bulk of the movie is, and that was what I signed up for anyway. That was the fun of it for me.
Yeah, they have to figure out how to morph into the suits, and they go through a hard time figuring that out. And there was a point where easily halfway through the movie, I'm like, man, we haven't seen the suits yet. Like, we haven't seen the Zords yet. Like, it's just been these kids. But at that point, I also thought, that's fine. Because this is awesome.
I wonder if that's a big criticism from longtime Power Ranger fans, that they didn't get to actually see a lot of Power Rangers business. They didn't get to see the Zords doing a lot of things. For me, I really enjoyed all the teenagers, and the main thing about this group, I don't remember if you get it from the original Power Rangers, but these people were kind of thrown together. They weren't friends, they didn't know each other, they weren't a team, they were just individuals, and a big part of the main plot is them learning about each other, learning how to become a team, care about each other, and I thought that those were important kind of things to push forward.
Yeah, you don't get any of that in the original series. They're all best friends.
Yeah, instantly. Hey,
They're
we
all,
hang out all the time.
Yeah, they hang out all the time. They're all pure of heart, and like in this one, like they get up to some shit. Like the original intro for the series is Zordon's talking about finding teenagers with attitudes.
That should be very difficult.
There is nothing attitude about that are the original kids. There isn't. They are so good and pure. Like it's silly that those two things come together.
Those
like,
kids should have been immediately disqualified.
Yeah, it should be Bulk and Skull. They should be the Rangers. They have attitude. These kids fucking don't. But the new kids are full of attitude. You first meet Jason Scott stealing a neighboring town's school mascot cow. You find out his buddy jerked it off. That's a plot point. That's a real thing that happens.
Kyle Seaman runs throughout the Power Rangers franchise.
You go from the Zordon Rita flashback right into jerking off a bull. I guess I felt like it wasn't clear to me, but I guess one of Kimberly's friends sent her a picture of her doing something dirty, and then she kind of sent it to some guy being jealous, and that went viral around the school.
I think that was a positive thing that they left it so vague, because the whole time I'm thinking up the worst things on earth that chick could have been doing in the photo. And I think that lends that's a great move by the filmmaker to just leave it up to the audience. You don't have to be that specific about it. You can just let your imagination run wild.
Yeah, Billy's probably the least teenager with attitude.
Yes.
His attitude is in the form of autism. And that kid stole the fucking movie.
I think that they kind of just touched a little bit on his autism just as a, just saying, this is why I'm a little quirky.
Yeah.
But even if they left that on the cutting room floor, he would have still been a really great character, and you would have got all the quirk out of him, because he was an awesome, awesome character. Whoever that actor is going to go on to do a lot of stuff, I think, because he was the star of Power Rangers.
Yeah, he should. He was great. There was a lot of comedic relief in the movie, and he brought a lot of it, but it was all situational. It never felt like banana peels and cream pies. Maybe a couple things with Alpha. I like that Alpha a couple times did the ay ay ay.
Yeah.
Towards the end, there was the Bumblebee Easter egg.
That was cool.
I guess Jason picks up a yellow and black Camaro and uses it as a shield against putties, and he's like, "Sorry, Bumblebee."
Yeah.
And I don't know what connection there is between Power Rangers and the Transformers franchise, other than giant robots doing stuff.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's just this film has been compared, rightfully or wrong, to the Michael Bay Transformers, and I think that this film got a lot of stuff right. Kind of jumping a little bit ahead to that comparison, they slowed a lot of the action down. Big problem with the Transformers is that you can't tell what's going on. There's so many moving pieces. The robots move so fast. You can't tell who's a good guy and who's a bad guy. The Power Rangers made it really clear. The Zords were brightly colored, and the putties and all the villains were either,
gray or gold.
Yeah, gray or gold. That's how you know you've got bad guys. And it really slowed down. In the end, whenever they form the Megazord and they're fighting this gigantic Goldar, all the action is slow and deliberate, like I think it would be if you were giant skyscrapers fighting each other. So yeah. I thought that was interesting.
They did it the same way they did Ant-Man in Civil War, where all of his motions in comparison to everyone else was real slowed down.
Yeah.
And it worked great. One of the few criticisms I had was I wanted the Zords and the Megazord to look more like the originals from the series. They didn't. They really changed everything around. Like, everything was still the same color.
Mm-hmm.
You could kind of, the T-Rex was the only one that really looked like what it was.
I think the
The Triceratops.
That one was really
Oh,
difficult.
the
The pterodactyl
yeah.
was the one I'm thinking that came real close to being similar. But I honestly, I don't even remember what the Yellow Ranger's vehicle is.
Saber-toothed tiger.
Barely in the movie,
Right.
Like,
The Black Rangers was a mammoth, and this one had 6 legs.
yeah,
Last
is that
I
what
checked,
it was? So
mammoths didn't have 6 legs, but it still had the trunks.
yeah,
But it wasn't big and tall with the
Yeah.
horns. It was just as squat as Billy's Triceratops.
yeah, I never got that from the build, so that is a design flaw for what they're doing.
I wanted everything to look more like the originals, but they did a better job than Transformers did because a lot of the pieces were still recognizable. Not so much when they formed the Megazord. That was just a whole brand new thing. You couldn't tell which parts were which, except for the pterodactyl.
I still think that the Megazord, it looked good though. It didn't look like the original, but I think for what they were doing, it still looked good. The same Goldar didn't look like Goldar. Goldar in the original TV series is it a cat? Is it a monkey? I don't know. He's a cat,
yeah.
like an Egyptian.
Yeah.
Cat
Monster.
Cat monster.
Yeah.
So think Egyptian cat monster, everybody.
I don't know
But
why.
he was just like a big gold blob, which was okay for what they did with Rita's.
With no face. And
it was sort of like a hole.
Yeah, the Megazord didn't have a face either.
No.
It just had like space.
Yeah. It was like a shield fogged up.
Yeah, and like I don't know what their deal was with like not putting faces on these things. Maybe they thought it would be too corny for these big things to have a face.
I don't know. One thing that I thought really worked was how they handled Rita. We already touched on she was part of the team. She was the Green Ranger who broke off away from the Power Rangers. They played her as like a horror character, which surprised me. We had a lot of kids in the audience. We went Sunday morning, and there were tons of kids in the audience, and it was some scary stuff for us to see her slinking around and jumping through nightmares with this pretty horrific makeup, like old age makeup on Elizabeth Banks. And what she was doing was trying to steal gold from Angel Grove to build her Goldar monster.
Because Angel Grove is essentially a gold mining town. A gold mining, like, bay town, I assume, in northwest United States.
So she was...
I always thought Angel Grove in the original series was somewhere in California.
It felt very
like
California.
Maybe like San Francisco.
Yeah, I would...
But this was definitely like Oregon, Washington State.
Yeah. Hard Scrabble people of
Angel Grove.
But so she's stealing gold and collecting gold and ingesting gold and stealing gold teeth and gold fillings from hobos.
I don't know why so many people in Angel Grove had gold teeth.
It was tacky.
Because she had this really creepy staff that seemed to be made out of gold bones and teeth, like definitely teeth.
Yeah,
which was really really creepy.
It was the most horrific scene in the whole movie. We go to a couple getting their engagement rings picked out, and crazy, damp, dripping Rita Repulsa comes. Was it sexy? I beg to differ. Comes, walking in.
You know how I like my sexy and scary.
What? That's true. You do like this. This was like
swirl ice cream.
If she was just like, right, that would have got you going. And she comes in and she lays her cane down with people's teeth in it, and she starts talking to the clerk, and she's like, "Give me all your gold," and she hands her like some gold, and she just eats necklaces. It was so friggin' weird, but extremely effective at building a villain who the audience was afraid of, and the Power Rangers really should have been afraid of. So I think that was a big win for them. That their villain was probably a better villain than any Marvel villain, to be honest.
Well,
I thought she was effective.
You got backstory,
like a real motivation because she's like power hungry and broke away from her team to do so.
Yeah. Essentially killed her original team to do so.
Yeah. So you from the jump, you got to, you know how in a lot of things they talk about, oh, this person's so scary, they did this, and they tell you all about it. From the jump, you see her kill the heroes, the people that are in the title of the movie. She kills the first version of them. So I thought that she was a great villain.
Yeah, one of the coolest effects that I liked was right before or during the big battle. She's walking down one of the streets and she's just kind of dragging the base of her cane on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and it's splitting the ground open behind her, and it's raising all these putties.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
No, that was really neat. Like it was like the best part of it was the kids. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen any of the Power Rangers in anything before, but
Yeah.
I thought they all did a great job. Trini and Zach probably got the least amount of face time. You get a lot of backstory about Jason, Billy, and Kimberly, but all of them worked together so well. Like I think all five of them really had a great chemistry with each other. And watching like the bulk of the movie is them learning what they're doing, like who they are in relation to each other, figuring out how to be Power Rangers, how to get everything to work, and like seeing their relationship coalesce was really well done. Like it was a really good story.
Yeah, and the payoff at the end, the last 20 minutes, it avoided a lot of errors that I think that you get in movies like Transformers, where it's just gigantic CG massacre all the time.
Yeah.
So by the end of the fight, you're exhausted. You're just tired. You've seen this for 40 minutes already. You're checked out. But this, you're jazzed up because this is the very first time that you get to see the Power Rangers in action. The first time that you get to see them fighting something. And I'm glad that they saved it all for the end.
It worked well. Like there's a scene in the very beginning when Zordon tells them, your Power Rangers, when you morph, like you need to protect your identities. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene in the end where Jason's dad's pinned under a truck and Jason's in full Red Ranger gear, and he goes in to pull him out. And I thought this was, Jason's gonna pull the mask off and be like, "Dad, it's me. Be proud of me now." And he didn't. Like he didn't even tell his dad. He just reaches into and. He's like, "Hey, I'm here to help. You're safe." And I thought it was a really touching moment because we know who that is.
Yeah.
But Jason's dad doesn't even know who that is. And I thought that worked really well. Like, I love that scene.
I thought that the filmmakers showed a lot of restraint with that because they could have done some, like, weird, cheesy kind of thing. In every other movie, if this was Batman, he would have ripped the cowl right off and everybody would have known,
There was a lot of exposed faces.
When they were flying around, but I think that they would have done "Let me confide in you," that kind of thing that we get in a lot of these movies. There was another point that I wanted to bring up that showed some restraint. In the trailers, they have Kimberly and Jason kiss, and they cut that. Yeah, in the trailers, there's a kiss, and they cut that out of the film. And I read an article today where the filmmaker said, "Yeah, we tested that out." And the entire audience kind of felt weird about it. They reacted badly. Us as filmmakers kind of felt, well, if they're feeling that way, we don't want to cheapen this like kind of mature take on what these teenagers are trying to go through and these relationships and cheapen it with like some kind of love story that really wasn't there. I mean, you could tell that they were bonding, but I don't think that it was necessary to have the love. I think the team element was way more important than a love story being like wedged in there.
Yeah, but and like not really knowing explicitly what the picture was that Kimberly had sent, they leave that romantic angle also vague because at the end they're going down in the Zords and Kimberly and Jason kind of reach out to each other, but that's the end of it.
Yeah.
And then they save the real heartwarming moment for Billy because he's really the heart of the team, the heart of the movie.
Yeah.
So you get a sense that something could be happening, but they don't push through on it
because there's so much stuff that they have, so much ground that they have to cover, so many characters and ideas that they have to introduce. Putting a romantic theme throughout there, I think, would have taken away from the entire movie, and I'm glad that they showed enough sense to kind of pull back on that.
Yeah, they showed a lot of restraint. Before we sign off here, quick hits about the two Easter eggs.
At the end, whenever the Power Rangers have saved Angel Grove, we get...
Which was kind of funny because you see, like, the Megazord's still standing.
Yeah.
So in this, like, sleepy little town of Angel Grove, there's a giant fucking robot standing there.
And the entire town is destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you, but I would have been hiding in a bomb shelter or something.
Well, I really like that part of it too, because you see the Zords like crunching through town, and they're just ripping up streets when they're walking, and like I love that they didn't fade away from how much damage these things were really doing.
Yeah. But you get the Pink Ranger and the original Pink and Green Rangers, Jason Frank, and I forget the Amy Jo Johnson.
Amy Jo Johnson. Yeah.
Were both had a little cameo at the end, so I thought that was
both
cool.
Wearing green and pink.
Very nicely done.
And the stinger at the very end after the first half of the credits was, whenever Jason, Kimberly, and Billy meet in the movie, they're all in detention, and they have the detention proctor there at the very end, and he's calling roll call for detention, and he says Tommy Oliver, and you just see an empty desk with Tommy's green jacket hanging over it. So, like, clearly setting the stage for the sequel that it's probably going to be the Green Ranger saga. Yeah,
so really well done. Really liked but everything about the movie. I have high praise for it. What would you rank?
I fucking loved it.
I loved it too.
I want to go back and see it again right now. I don't want to record the podcast proper in a few minutes here, but like I would rather go see Power Rangers. I want to give it a 9. Better taste tells me an 8. But I really fucking liked it.
I did too, and I said it yesterday when we were leaving the theater. This was my favorite film that I've seen all year, and I've watched a lot of wacko stuff this year.
Yeah, you really have so far. I think I've seen Split, Get Out, Logan, and this.
Yeah.
And yeah, Power Rangers was my favorite out of those 4. I mean, Logan was really good.
Yeah.
But Power Rangers gave me a little more of what I like in a movie, which is a little more levity.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't anything that I could really nitpick and say that I didn't like. It hit everything that I wanted. So I give it an 8. I want to give it a 9, but I'm going to give it an 8. It did everything I wanted.
That's our Power Rangers video review. Thanks everybody for watching. Check out McSoss.com. You can, if you're watching this, you've already found it on YouTube/McSoss. Is that what that is?
Yeah. Go to YouTube, type in MCSOSS, and we'll pop up. There's no other McSoss out there, so you'll get us. Don't worry.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.